Hello everybody. This is going to be the summary of my round Africa trip. And I arrived just a few days ago back in Italy. And what I want to do today is just to give you the numbers of my trip. And I'm sure there are some interesting things about it. I mean, first thing, 32,000 and more are the kilometers that I made from Tangier to Cape Town and to then to Kenya, Nairobi, and then Istanbul, Greece, Albania, and then back to Italy. Then I did 480 the kilometers that I did instead on a pickup from Nouadhibou to Nouakchott in Mauritania. The host of a hotel where I was, he was willing to give me a lift to Nouakchott, and so I said, okay, why not? So we put the bike on his pickup and we went from Nouadhibou to Nouakchott. Of course, then I don't know exactly how many, but I've done also many kilometers on ferries in Nigeria, in Angola, and of course from Genoa to Tangier to Morocco. Then let's say a few numbers about my my motorbike, because some people ask me about it. So the fuel tank, 20 liters. That's what the amount of liters I could hold in my fuel tank, and with a 25 kilometer per liter range on a on-road, I was able to do 500 kilometers on a fuel tank. Then on off-road, instead I had an average of 17 kilometers per liter. Then another interesting feature about my motorbike is that as I changed the springs front and rear, I set those up for 125 kilos, which is considering my weight, the luggage weight, and the extra fuel. So both front and rear springs were like 125 to 130 kilograms. Then yes, about my trip, altogether it was 184 days, which is slightly more than 6 months. And along the way I crossed 23 borders, and of course every border had to stamp my passport in and out. And similarly, I had to do it with for my vehicle, my motorbike. So I managed to get 17 stamps on my carnet de passage, and which is pretty good because almost all countries, I was able to stamp in and out the carnet, and that most of the times allows you to not to pay any import or temporary import, and sometimes no road tax. So that was pretty good. Another extremely interesting, that's why I say that I'm pretty blessed in general, but especially throughout this trip, I had only 3 days of rain, one of which in Greece and only 2 in Africa. And the amazing thing is that I even crossed countries that were during the rainy season, like Nigeria and Cameroon, and still I only got 2 days of rain. So I would say I was pretty lucky about it. Then 2 is also the times I fell. I fell once in Angola, just on the way, on the way to Namibia. It was a sandy track, lots of potholes, and so pretty good. But nothing happened, of course. And the other time was, I would say pretty sudden. I was in Greece, and it was in a small town, and it was early morning. I suppose I went on a oil patch, and I couldn't do anything. I just fell. yeah. Luckily, also nothing happened, and also pretty happy about it. I never fell, although I crossed the desert in Morocco, in Mauritania, and in Namibia. I never fell, even in the desert, where normally you go faster, and yes, of course, lots of sand. Then, still about the motorbike, I had 9 oil changes over 32,000 kilometers. And of course, I had oil changes and also oil filters. And that's why I brought with me the oil filters, because it wasn't easy to find them along the way. Then when you do oil changes, you also check, of course, the air filter, and I changed 0 air filters, but I changed 4 air filter covers. They just protect, and so as you use those covers, you just don't need to change the air filter itself. So that's also pretty good. Then in terms of tires, I changed 3 rear tires and 2 front tires. In order to do that, normally you need to set up along the way where you can find those tires. For example, I was lucky through a friend of mine in Nigeria. We imported the tires from South Africa, and when I reached Nigeria, I changed the tires there. Well, then another few interesting numbers. People asked me about how much did I spend. Okay, so as I said, I stayed 184 days, and I wrote down all my expenses, and for hotels where I didn't camp, I was not camping out, but anyway, the expenses for hotels per day, so the accommodation was 16.7 euros, and the food per day was 11.7 euros per day, and surprisingly for some people, the petrol was only 6.8 euros per day. So altogether it's about 20 to 27 plus 28, about 35 euros per day. So that's pretty good for accommodation, fuel, and food. An extra expense, probably the biggest expense, is the visas. Visas can be from $50 up to $400 for Nigeria, and that is the highest expense. And as I said, I crossed 23 countries. So that was the highest expense. So these are the numbers of all my trip around Africa, and I hope you enjoyed my, my company along this trip. I certainly did with you, and I hope you found my reports interesting. All the best, and well, to my next destination, which is going to be probably South America. So see you soon.